Hello, good day. Now we're back to the ordinary time for the 13th Sunday for June 30th, July the 1st weekend. This particular weekend's readings are once again just wonderful. Normally the order I like to take is to go from the Old Testament to the Gospel and back to the Epistle in developing a series of thoughts. But this particular week, it works better for me to go from the Epistle to the Gospel and back to the Old Testament. First of all, in the Epistle, the words that Paul uses in 2 Corinthians chapter 8, verses 7, 9, and then 13 to 15. Jesus' gracious act, his gracious act, is that he empties himself of all the goodness that he has, pouring that goodness into us. Jesus, so to speak, becomes like a pipeline from God to us of God's divine goodness being poured into the human race. So when we go to Jesus, we can fill up, no longer being empty, but filling ourselves up with God's love, with God's life. Moving on to the Gospel, Mark chapter 5, verses 21 to 43. What a contrast they have here of this woman who's suffering from the hemorrhages. She goes to the doctors of that time. She only gets worse. Then she thinks, because she has faith in the power of God, she's heard about him, about Jesus. She says, all I have to do is touch his garment. Her faith is so great. Jesus, both human and divine, but on his human side, does not know, because he's in a big crowd, doesn't know who touches him with that faith. Now, everybody is rubbing up against him, but not with this request in their head that they be cured, nor with that great faith. It's her faith that opens her up for the power, curing power of Jesus to flow into her. She just, so to speak, by the force of her faith, takes the goodness that's in Jesus, takes it into herself, fills herself up with that goodness, and is cured. In the second healing process, the one with the synagogue official, Jesus says, do not be afraid, just have faith. Here, my understanding of do not be afraid means do not live in your own shallowness, emptiness. Again, open yourself to the tremendous reservoir of goodness that God wants to pour into you. That's the faith. He goes to the little girl. I say to you, arise. Pours out his goodness into her. She arises. They're absolutely amazed. Well, if we're living in God's goodness each and every day, although we should be amazed, so to speak, yet we should know how much his power is there for us. And we but have to open ourselves up. It's like living in a kitchen filled with all kinds of goodies. All you have to do is open them up, pour them out. But if you just let everything just sit there and don't open them up, they just sit there. We live a life without faith. God's goodness just sits there, available to us, but we do not take advantage because we're not open to him. In the Old Testament reading. What wonderful beginning here. Book of Wisdom, chapter 1, verses 13 to 15, and then chapter 2, verses 23 to 24. They fit right together. God did not make death, nor does he rejoice in the destruction of the living. For he fashioned all things that they might have being, and the creatures of the world are wholesome. What is death here? I think death means trying to live on our own resources, which are practically nothing. And, in other words, living like a car running on empty. And instead of filling up our tank with God's love, His wholesomeness, His goodness, His abundant life, just driving past the gas station of faith and sputtering on. He's ready and willing to fill us up because He loves us so much. That's why He made us. To daily fill us up, if but daily we ask. May each day be a day in which we share in God's inner goodness and make it our inner goodness by simply opening us up to what He wants to pour into us. May the dear Lord always be with you.